So I'm Kirsty Darkins. This is Kal Kandola. We will both be presenting at Masterclass live at the end of May. And Kal is going to help me with the finance and funding module in her role as finance strategist is the wrapper that she wraps herself in. So how did you become a finance strategist, Kal?
Well, I've been in finance for a very, very long time. Since my age now. 1988 was the first time I got into finance as a mortgage advisor in an estate agency. But over the years, I've worked for banks, I've had my own brokerages, and I've done various things. And for me, the difference has been offering that bespoke service to my clients and looking at their strategy as opposed to just a transactional basis, which is what a lot of brokers do. It's like, okay, you want a bridge, I'll sort out a bridge for you. And that, for me, it's never been that way. It's always been about the strategy. Okay, if you want a bridge, what are you doing? That's for the acquisition, but where's the development coming from and what's the exit? So for me, that's why I've kind of gone with the strategist wrapper, because I'm more than just a broker. I'm not there just to fill out the application forms and send it off for you. I'm there to package the case, also help you to negotiate it as well with the lenders and also with your vendor as well, because that's the whole point. For me, what I want to do is educate all of my clients so that they actually understand how to put their funding strategy together, so that when they are then negotiating on a deal, they're doing it with confidence rather than, oh, well, I'm not really sure where the money's going to come from for this.
I mean, I can remember the first time you coined this at a talk I was listening to you present at one of the many networking events that we've been to together. And I sat there thinking, yeah, I do that, but I've never actually thought about it in those terms, in terms of, not only do you need a property strategy, you need to know which property strategy is right for you. So we'll be helping people decide which commercial property strategy is right for them. But alongside that, you need to know what your funding strategy is. Exactly. To enable that strategy, So actually what you're going to help people do is work out what's the right funding strategy for them alongside the commercial property strategy that is right for their goals. So why do investors need to consider their funding strategy fully before they've found a deal to fund? Because doesn't the money come if you've got a good deal?
Do you know, when people say that, it makes me really want to scream and shout, because it's that same old thing when people say, oh, what's this pounds per square meter price on this on a refurb? So, okay, what's your parameters? And yes, if deals are good, funding is available out there, but you need to know where to go for that funding. And if a deal is really good, there's going to be more than one person after that deal. So you need to make sure that you are 2-3 steps ahead of anybody else. So when you're then negotiating with that vendor, because you already know where your money's coming from, you already know how you're going to package it, where the acquisition's coming from, where the development side of it, and what your exit's going to be, you can actually then have a really confident conversation. Or if you're doing a tender pack, that information needs to go into that, because whoever you're making the offer to, whether it's in the agent, the vendor, they're going to look at that fully and say, okay, this person really knows what they're doing. So we've got confidence that they not only they're going to offer on this, but they're going to complete on it as well. Because that's the difference. A lot of people go in there and make offers, but then they don't complete because something goes wrong. And usually what's gone wrong is something's changed in that project. So, for example, if it's a case where they need to get planning, they didn't achieve the planning that they originally hoped for, so the numbers don't stack up anymore. Or like we found recently, where people have got deals where it's an option agreement, and 2 years down the line they've got the planning. However, the price of actually building that site now has gone up, but the value hasn't gone up. So the numbers now don't stack up. But the vendor still wants what they want, because they're not being realistic about, the value of their land. So there's a lot of sites at the moment that have been mothballed because of that. So you need to really have clarity on where you're going. And again, that's where when I harp on about the 2-year and the 5-year plan, because anything you're looking at, it's a property business that you're setting up. So nobody looks at, and when they're opening any other kind of business, when we say cash flow forecast and your business plan and everything, we look at a 2- and 5-year business plan. But nobody looks at that for their property business. And this is a property business is going to cost you so much money, right? And your potential to make a lot of money, but you need to know exactly how you're going to do that. And if you don't have the plan in place, then it's not going to work.
Exactly. And that's what, we're going to bring this all to life in a lot more detail, obviously, in terms of, okay, so what are the steps to deciding your funding strategy and what are your options? So, it feels a bit limited in part in terms of what the options are, particularly for commercial investment properties or, commercial mixed use developments, even in terms of what funding options are actually available right now commercially. So, what are the funding options that we're going to talk about that are available to investors investing in commercial?
So what we've done with finance, so I work with Alistair Hoyne. Alistair's very, very creative like myself. And we've looked at the marketplace and said, okay, the vanilla stuff that's out there doesn't work because the marketplace has changed. So what we've actually done is gone to the lenders and said, look, we need different products. We can show you a marketplace. And if we can put the product together, we've got clients that can actually, have access that funding to actually complete on these projects. So we've come out with some very creative solutions. Okay, because that's what we do. We work as a packager. We package the deal, but when we go to lenders and say, look, this doesn't actually work in the normal sense. However, the numbers stack up and there is a business case for actually having this line of funding. The other thing that Alistair's doing as well is he's actually launching Finance Capital, which is going to be a lender in itself. Okay, so we're sorting that out at the moment. And within that, we will obviously be lending to our clients as well. We've also got access to a good bank of investors that are looking for projects or looking to JV with somebody or lend the money out to somebody for equity and for debt. So that's what we've tried to do, is put something a bit more bespoke for our clients, because again, we're not looking at it on a transactional basis. We want clients to come to us and we want to be funding their next 5, 10, 15 deals over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And so we want to work with them. So some of the stuff that we've got is like the commercial bridge to lease, because when you buy a commercial property, in order to then get out of the bridge and have a commercial mortgage, you need 2 years accounts. Now, if you've only just bought that and you've renovated it, you're not going to have those 2 years accounts. So we've got a commercial bridge to lease product, which basically it's the same lender. So they give you the bridging loan. And then once your work is done, they actually convert that into a 2 or a 3 year commercial mortgage for you. So then at the end of that 2 to 3 years, you've got the accounts you need to then refinance that out into the normal marketplace. And again, we can do that for you. Obviously, but this product works in that sense. It's similar to, you have the bridge for a buy-to-let products. Do you remember those ones? Yeah. So where you were doing a bridge and then you were converting it into a HMO or something like that. So it's similar to that, but obviously on a much larger scale because it is for commercial.
Yeah. And well, I think that's what's needed, because we're kind of doing it for ourselves in our own investment portfolio. We've got a bank of investors we work with. It gives us control. It gives us certainty. It gives us speed, which means we can keep hold of our deals. We can control our deal pipeline. All the things you can't do at the moment when you're working with traditional lenders, because it just feels like it's broken. To me, I haven't been working with traditional lenders for a few years because it's just been so difficult in the commercial lending market for the last few years. So yeah, actually, all of those options you've just described is exactly what everyone's going to need to understand to put their funding strategy together for the foreseeable future. Because I don't know about you, but I can't see commercial lending coming back anytime soon as it was.
Not for a while. I think it is definitely the sort of lenders that people need to look at. The days of walking down the high street to your bank and asking for a commercial loan are gone. We've got other creative solutions, like we have a hunter license, which is like a revolving facility. So if somebody's got unencumbered assets, you're actually basically lending on the asset value there, on the value there. But then you've got that revolving facility sat there waiting, and so you can go and buy an auction, or you can do some creative deals that you wouldn't be able to get funding for. Once you've purchased them, you've done your development, we refinance out of that, So then, you know, you can then use that facility for your next project and then your next project as well. So it gives people that are actually going out and acquiring quite a few projects a really good facility where they're then not having to go back and say, right now I need to fill in these application forms because this is the project I want to buy. You've got the money sitting there. It's up to you what you use it for.
You see, that's really interesting, because I had a conversation with an investor today, actually. I've been talking to him for a little while, and he bought a property with his own capital years ago in his business. Then he sold his business, but they didn't want the property with the business because they were taking it elsewhere. So he ended up with an office property, which he kept, and then he's repurposed it and carved it up into smaller units and created like a really strong income stream with, you know, 20 plus different tenants, workshop, office tenants. But he finds himself in a position where, because a lot of the leases are short and refinance isn't an option right now, his money is stuck in that project, and he's added all this value and had it valued, but he's like, yeah, well, that's great, I've got a value on a piece of paper, I can't actually get my money back out to go and do the next one, and I'm stuck. And that's the sort of help that I'm hearing from quite a lot of investors that need, in terms of we literally don't know where to go, because if you go to a standard high street everyday broker, that they won't have a solution. And I think, you know,
they won't have the solutions. Yeah, the difference for us is because we're actually developers ourselves. So we've looked at when we're looking at funding, we're looking at it in a completely different scenario. So we're looking at it in the sense of, okay, it needs to be a little bit more creative. We need to understand how to put the strategy together for our clients. But we need to understand the projects, and we need to make sure, obviously, all, you know, sense check everything. And because we've got that experience, when we're talking to lenders, they actually understand that. So, you know, it's a different conversation that we're able to have. Same thing with investors. That's why Alistair's been able to go back to lenders and actually, you know, have specific projects made for us as such, for our clients. Now, if we
you're serving a need, aren't you? You're serving demand ultimately. So what you've done is you've gone, oh, look, ourselves and lots of our fellow property investors are really struggling with funding because nobody understands us. So actually, let's come up with a load of, let's be the bridge between lenders and investors and tell, you know, help them communicate, because I think that's the problem.
Let's have an adult conversation there to say, look, this still really works. We can fund it. You're going to make money. They're going to make money. Let's just get on with it and do it. Let's put something together that actually works and helps them, but it helps you as well. It's a business case, because these lenders need to lend their money. That's how they make money. You know, they've got exactly. So we're basically just, you know, teaching them how to do that, but in a different way.
But it's quite funny because they're like, from the investor side of the fence, the investor and developer side of the fence, it feels like lenders don't want to lend anymore a lot of the time. You know, it's kind of like, well, how is your business still open? Because you're not lending to any of us. So who are you lending to? You know, it's quite
probably not with most of them. Is again, it's that whole the computer says no, because there isn't a specific person sitting there. I remember, you know, 25 years ago, when if you walked into Lloyd's Bank, the branch manager actually had a remit that he could say yes to this or this or this, and he'd actually sit down with somebody and say, okay, let's go through your business. You build up a relationship with him or her, and they would say, yeah, actually, you know, I like that idea. I'm going to help you fund it. We don't have those conversations anymore. It's all computerized and you know, sort of processing centers, and that's the problem. So because of the way we do things, we package the whole case, and we actually speak specifically to the people that are decision makers in that within that lender. We actually have a different conversation. And now with us actually looking at becoming a lender ourselves as well, it's a different conversation. We can
absolutely.
We can
I'll tell you what, I can't wait
that people actually need.
Well, precisely. So, and everyone in the room will need them because we all run out of money. You know, we've got some of our own money to get started, obviously, in commercial investing, but you always run out because you start getting really good at finding deals, and then you're like, well, now what do I do? So I'm really excited about having you at Commercial Property Masterclass Live, because you can bring all this to life for everyone in terms of, look, don't worry about the high street banks. Here's loads of other different options. Here's how to be more creative with your funding. Put the strategy right that's going to work with the commercial property strategy that you're trying to invest in. And also you're going to help people understand how to be ready, aren't you? How to be ready for lenders. Because I think that's the key thing is, you know, the bane of your life often is that people send you half the information and expect you to do the job with it. You know,
I can't do miracles in that way. You know, what I want to do is I want to work with you. I want to be part of your team right from the start. So when you're starting to look at a deal, you're actually number crunching that with me first before we go and make the offer, because let's look at how we're going to actually make that offer, how we're going to structure that in the right way, knowing that we can actually back it up with the funding that we all need for that project. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to share some case studies with everybody. So
brilliant.
Because I think case studies help people to actually understand different ways that they could do things, because it's all good and well saying, oh, you can do this, you can do this. And I know you're going to do the same thing as well with the training. You're going to share a lot of case studies, because that's really the best way for people to learn. So I'm going to do a different case study for each of the different types of specialist finance we've got, so that people can look at it and think, oh, actually, do you know what? I could do that. Yes. I can understand how that works with this or that. And it just gets people thinking creatively when they're looking at a project, because at the moment, everybody looks at things in tunnel vision, don't they? And that's what we want to stop. That's the whole point of having quality training like yours, so that people are actually looking at something and saying, right, what can I do with that property to make it the most out of it, to be the most creative person, and to make it my strategy better than somebody else's, or my project better than somebody else's, so I'm actually getting a maximum return on that.
Yeah, exactly. And it allows you to go after opportunities that other people can't go after because they've got no funding solution, you know, and that's ultimately where we're really trying to get to, because the number of investors that say, well, I'd love to invest in commercial, but I've got no accessible cash right now, and the high street lenders aren't lending, and therefore I'm stuck, aren't I? And like, well, no, you're not.
Exactly. I mean, high street, where are the lenders anyway? I think most of the branches have closed on the high streets, haven't they? So
they have, yeah. So let's forget about them.
Yeah,
and work
out the high street lenders. They are dinosaurs. We don't want to work with them anymore.
Yeah, come and work with us. We're much more proactive, and we're a lot more fun generally. You know,
yes,
that's
exactly.
on the bank as well. We like to have a bit of fun. So we'll have a drink afterwards as well, and we can carry on talking finance in the bar. Although be careful, because Kal can outlast any of you. I'm warning you.
I'll drink you all under the bar.
I know. Like I think I've got stamina. Not when I'm with this lady. She always leaves after me.
Well, somebody's got to be the adult in the room, make sure everybody gets home safe. And
the adult in the room. I love that. Right. So yes, that's what me and Kal are going to be doing on day 3 around finance and funding. So to make sure you go away with your funding strategy alongside your commercial property strategy at Masterclass Live. So we'll see you there.
Brilliant. See you guys.